What was it like working with Pink Floyd? Like Sid Barrett, he must have been interesting character.
Well, it was. I mean, it was.
I suppose
I
he
mean,
wasn't so
I.
far gone by then. He was just, it
No,
was
no,
the start of it.
he was great. He was a bit quiet compared to some of the others, but um, I met them, I guess, in August, September of '66,
Hmm.
and I was friends with Peter Jenner and Andrew King, who had just started managing them, and then I was involved with the London Free School, which was this sort of idealistic, weird left wing organization, and we decided to raise money with a concert, with a benefit concert.
Uh-huh.
And Jenner said, "Well, the Pink Floyd are looking for a place to play and get some exposure. They'll play for the benefit for you."
Mm.
And so was that was September of '66, and the first time I saw them, and by that time I'd met them, and Sid was a very sweet guy, and anyway, they played like three or four benefits for the free school,
Right.
and I thought they were great. And so I brought Chris Blackwell down to see them, and he didn't get it all. He still laughs about that. And I brought down a wonderful guy called Horst Schmaltzy, who was the head of A&R for Polydor,
Mm.
and he went, "Great, okay, let's sign them." And so we set up this. I set up my company, Witch Season Productions, was actually set up to record Pink Floyd for Polydor.
Oh, wow.
And we had the whole deal set. Everything was negotiated. Everything was ready. All we needed was a signature, four signatures. And Jenner called me up one day and said, um, "We've got an agent now who's going to book the group." And by this time, I'd started the UFO Club with Hoppy, who was the real leader of the London Free School. And we started this once a week event at an Irish dance hall in London,
Okay.
where on the Thursday and the Saturday was show bands,
Okay, that's cool.
and Friday was UFO.
Okay.
And uh, and so all while we were setting this up, I was trying to nail this deal to record Pink Floyd, and we actually were in. Polydor had a little demo studio in their offices, and we booked it, and we went in there to rehearse Arnold Lane. And Jenner called me up and said, "We have a new agent, and the agents are coming down to meet the group at the rehearsal, this rehearsal." And so they came in, and it's a funny memory because, and I write about this in White Bicycles, that these guys walked in the room, and they were like East End, working class, tough guys who
Hmm.
were bookers,
Okay.
music bookers. They were part of this, this new world of rock bands, and you know, and and the irony is that all three of them, in later, much later, became really good friends of mine.
Okay.
But when they walked in that first time, I froze because I said,
Uh,
"Oh fuck, I'm in trouble now," because I could just see them looking around like, "Wait a minute, we need what's this?" And Polydor was established through they gave label deals. They had the Bee Gees through Reaction Records. They had Hendrix through Track Records. They had the Who. They had the biggest groups, but they were all like labeled as they didn't have an image. Polydor didn't have an image,
right, right.
and and anyway, the agents Brian Morrison, Tony Howard, and Steve O'Rourke, who later became their manager, um, they sort of listened to what we were doing, went away, and the next day I got a call from Jenner saying, we're not signing the contract.
Oh no.
And because basically because Brian Morrison had said we can get you a much bigger deal with EMI.
Right.
And so, of course, EMI was the Beatles label, and it was like,
Yeah.
the biggest, you
Yeah.
know. And so they said, but what we were going to do is, the agency would finance the first single, and
Okay.
we'd like you to
Okay.
produce the single because you've already done the work with it, you're prepared, they want to work with you. And I said, but wait a minute, if I produce the single and that helps you get through the deal, can I be locked in
Yeah.
as the producer of the album for the next single? And they came back and said, well, no, EMI won't want to be, want to have their hands tied. Um, we'll give you a royalty on the single, whatever you produce. And I said, well, I'm not going to do it then. And there was this standoff that lasted about 4 days where
Yeah.
they kept saying, well, come on, Joe, don't be so silly, just do it. Well, you'll be their producer. Don't worry, but we can't put it in writing. It's too much.
Uh,
And of course, what I didn't realize, and what I think Brian Morrison knew, was that EMI's policy in those days was totally in-house.
yeah. I get you.
Like
Yeah.
everything was made at Abbey Road with Abbey Road engineers and Abbey Road producers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we made Arnold Lane. EMI loved it, put up, what seemed like a huge amount of money at the time, £5,000.
Jeez, that's a
And
lot in the '60s. Holy shit.
yeah,
Wow.
and signed them. And then, of course, they put out the record. It was a hit, a modest hit. And they said, you know, uh, you're not going to produce it. Our in-house team is going to produce it.
Man.
So, um, so that was a bit of a choker. But anyway, um, it sent me out there. I had the Incredible String Band who were doing really well then.
Hmm.
I was producing them, and then I signed Fairport Convention and Richard Thompson, and kept going.